What's going on, everybody? We are setting up. We're waiting for Bazgrim. So we are setting up the cameras here for a second. We won't be in this standby mode for long. Thank you to everybody who's jumped over to chat with us. We're going to be going through questions in our Discord. If you haven't joined our Discord, you can hit !Discord to get information for that. We have a channel we made called Eval Build Questions we're going to go through. You can direct those questions at an individual who's playing a class. You can direct it at the group. We're also excited to announce that we have Roenick with us, not on camera, but in voice. What's up, Roenick?
What's up, everybody?
So it'll be just a moment here until we start up. You guys are just seeing the splash screen here. We're trying to get Bazgrim over here. I think he was just ending his stream, so give us a moment to get him in. We may go live and then just have him jump in. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I'm gonna shut this door in my room.
Nathan's putting pants on, everybody.
Well, am I on camera? Nobody, somebody's gonna see my bare butt when I walk by. No, I'm just kidding. I'll be right back.
Oh, jeez.
Well, it is COVID time, so you know
Yes.
I wouldn't expect him to have
pants.
pants.
Pants is a bad industry. That's like Florida having socks. Like being a sock company in Florida, not good.
Yeah, that can be a good business. I wouldn't open one. I wouldn't open a business like that in Florida.
Yeah, exactly. Definitely no socks.
Maybe you could still, maybe like something called stealth socks, and there is nothing in the bag, right?
Oh, genius name.
Mm-hmm. You like that?
Yeah.
Low overhead.
People in Florida might buy it.
All right, well, let's see here.
I bet you he's just trying to end his.
Whoa!
Whoa. We just got a follow with the Joppa sound there from Odell666. Thank you for the follow. We will start up here very shortly, guys. We're just seeing if we can get Bazgrim in before we start. Otherwise, he might just join us in progress. A little different tonight. Once we jump into the actual stream, you'll give me a second to edit. I'm going to have a little teaser playing while we... Here we go.
Whoa!
Whoa, again. Thank you, Black Flame. I appreciate that. Like I said, guys, we'll be starting here very shortly. We should be just about set up. We're probably going to run, and then hopefully we get Bazgrim in here. He's, like I said, he was streaming like a live stream of watching it, so he's wrapping up. So he'll be over here shortly. Are you guys okay with starting up? And we'll just add him in because the camera setup's a little different tonight, so he should be able to be in. So
That's fine. That's fine.
All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to show a little viewer warning, a little introduction, and then we will go ahead and jump right over to the show. So let's go ahead and get the viewer warning up. This is old school. This was created for the very first Pantheon PlusYou from a member of this. So here we go.
Oh, we're live? We're streaming right now? Cool. Awesome, man. Let me just
Whoa!
All right, guys. So welcome to Pantheon PlusYou episode 40. No, we're not 46. That's rewind 53. What's going on, guys? Give me 1 second here. I'm tweeting out. We're doing this on the fly. Bazgrim will be joining us very shortly here. If you haven't been a part of Pantheon PlusYou in the past, thank you for all the following. We got a hype train going. We got Mo the Saint, Bounty Code, Micro Grizzly, tons of people following. Sorry if we miss you. But looks like we're getting everybody in. So hopefully Bazgrim's going to jump in. You'll see him on video with us here. We are going to just tweet out. So Therek, you want to tell people a little bit about what Pantheon PlusYou is all about while I tweet this out and get it going here?
Yeah, no. I mean, so if you're not familiar with the show, we do is we do a recap of the dev stream, and we talk for a while.
Oh.
And
are you hearing him break up, Nathan?
Yeah.
Therek, you're breaking up. We're losing you a little bit. Sorry. Well, Nathan,
Okay.
you can explain it, right?
Yeah, sure. So basically, this is where.
Whoa.
What's up,
Here we
Baz?
go. Here's Baz. What's up, Baz? So so this is a show where right after the development stream, we hop on, we kind of talk about what happened. A lot of the times, we'll have some kind of voting system going where the community can vote, and the people on the show, and we just kind of. The really thing that sets this thing apart, though, is the green room. So if you're a part of the Discord, you can hop in the green room, a voice channel, and might as well pull you in, and he pulls as many people from the community in as he can, and so we get to speak with them and get their input on the topic at hand.
There you go. Nathan, you're like a pro. Baz, you can turn your video on if you want for Zoom. It's up to you. We have you up on the screen. There you are. And everybody's in Discord. So yeah, that's perfect. So, tonight we also are joined. He's not on video here, but you guys will have Roenick here with us for a little bit as well. So Roenick, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be back on the show.
Yeah, so it's cool. Yeah, Roenick, I think you chatted with us a couple times on here. So tonight's pretty simple. We want to do as much of a Q&A as possible. We've been given the ability to talk about, this evaluation build pretty extensively, anything we experienced in there. So what we've done is a couple different things. First, we're going to be taking questions from the Twitch chat. So please ask your questions in there. If you guys can try to keep an eye on that the best you can, I would love that. But the other part of it is we have two videos playing at the bottom. They're the same right now. So let me fix that because these are spoilers for the video we're going to put out. So what I'm going to do is take one of these videos and just put it at halfway. So this is sort of the different perspectives you're going to see. This is the Rogue video. There's no audio on it. It's really small, so you're not going to get much out of it tonight. But little spoilers of different perspectives that we're going to see. And we're going to talk a little bit about how those are going to come out from all of us. So we don't just put them all at once and overload everybody. We're going to try to spread them out a little bit. So we'll talk about that tonight. But the big thing tonight is I want to take some time for all of us to talk about what that was like. I want to take some time for everybody to answer some questions from the community. So again, if you haven't been on Pantheon PlusYou or seen it, there is a green room in our Discord. Type !Discord, and that will actually give you the link, and you can go into the green room and we'll pull you live on the air, and you can talk live on the air, ask us a question. If you're someone who doesn't want to go live on the air, we have a channel called Eval Build Questions that you'll see on the left-hand side in our Discord. You guys can ask questions in there, and we're actually going to go through those as well. So we're going to answer questions from that channel. We're going to answer questions from Twitch, and we're going to answer questions from the green room. So before we begin, I think it's general impressions, everybody. I mean, Nathan, let's start with you. We just watched that video for the first time. We didn't get to see that. We've seen our own perspectives. We've been editing it, but what did you think? What went through your mind watching it, sitting there as a captive audience person? What do you think?
Yeah. So for one thing, it's really bizarre seeing it from somebody else's point of view. For one thing, but it was so that made it. I was just as excited, right? Like something different might happen because I'm watching him. But I also got to see some things that I didn't notice at all, even rewatching my own video. I saw a lot of things and understood more of some of the dialect happening while we were playing. That when I was playing, I was.
You just mute yourself, Nathan. I don't know how you did that. Did you hit something? Can anybody hear Nathan? No, there you are. You're back.
Okay. So yeah, I thought it was really interesting, and I thought it was really fun to watch. That's all. We're just talking about watching the video now. You don't want me to go into?
No. Just, I mean, what are your thoughts overall? I mean, what was it like?
So, well, the main thing for me is that playing the Dire Lord, the sustaining is more their style for threat, right? So, many times, as everybody saw, Bazgrim would have built a lot of the threat while they were stunned and or while they were mezzed, and as soon as they broke out, they would come for them. And it was scary. It took a while because I put my provoking phantoms up. It has to build. I have to stack it, and it was stressful, especially for somebody who's more used to snap aggro. It was just like sweat, just like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can get this off in time. So that was my main takeaway for the Dire Lord.
Now you're a paladin guy. You've played the Dire Lord a little bit. Now that you've played Dire Lord, are you more up on Dire Lord than you were like just looking at it from the outside, or what do you think?
Yeah, I would play a Dire Lord for sure.
No,
it's one of those things where every time you play a class in Pantheon, in my opinion, so far, you kind of fall in love with certain aspects of it. And you're always like, I'm going to make an alt of this. You probably won't. You can't make an alt of everything unless you poop socket, right? So I'm telling myself now I'll probably make an alt. So for certain boss fights, it would be cool to have a Dire Lord, right? For the magic based.
Yep. Bazgrim, so you just got back from watching that. You were hosting your, for everyone who knows or doesn't know, Bazgrim hosts a watch along for all the VR streams. You can jump over. There's a lot of good dialogue, his reactions. So Baz, like, what was it like watching that back? Like from that perspective, you know, we've been editing, right? Like it's not fun. Like when we're watching, it's stressful. What was that like to sit back?
Well, the first thing that jumped out to me is that you talk a lot.
You're just noticing this now?
Like, I'm trying to talk to my stream over your time. Also, what I got out of that is that Roenick cheats a lot.
Yeah.
Those dev hacks, I was like, I did not have this much gear or this many abilities. No, that was.
I don't think I hacked too badly actually this time. I've definitely done a lot worse in the past.
Yeah, it wasn't. I don't think it was game breaking, but I was like, "Well, where'd you get all that gear?" Anyway, no, it was really fun. It was interesting because the perspective we saw obviously was the same class that I was playing, but it was kind of like two sides of the same coin. Like Roenick was doing the more DPS debuff style, and I was doing more like the healer support role. So that was definitely fun to watch. And you were talking about healing aggro, which I actually really like that because as the healer, it's not just I wasn't just standing on the edges just like healing over and over again. Like it actually felt more engaging. Like that was something that I had to take into consideration. I do have to ask though, is it intentional that hate would be built while a target is mezzed? Because that seems a little odd to me, that like if they're mesmerized yet they're still tracking who they hate, you know what I mean? I don't know if that's an intentional feature that did kind of
Well, think of it like this. If somebody did a magic spell on me and I couldn't move and I'm watching them kill my friends, I'm going to be like, I'm going to kill that one. I'm mad at that one.
You have nothing else to do.
So that's the way I took it anyway.
True. I mean, it's true. Maybe, well, were you stunning them or were you like mesmerizing them?
It's very similar to a Maz, I would say. Roenick, you're able to jump in anytime you want, but you're not, don't feel like you have to say anything. But yeah, I'm pretty sure Smoke Trick is like a Mez.
Yeah, that was kind of that's kind of what I gathered too. But yeah, it definitely kept things interesting. Like I felt part of the fight. Definitely had some close calls there as far as the Dire Lord peeling it off. I think in some cases the mobs weren't necessarily hitting at quite as hard as I expected. But it was so the difficulty was definitely, I would say it was pretty close. I think it obviously needs a little bit of fine tuning. It's not quite there, but it definitely was a very fun challenge.
Yeah, it is. It does get stressful in that breaking period, right? Like, and I like that you kind of brought that up. I've played a healer in a lot of games when you just stand in one place and that's all you do, and you just heal. It's not as exciting. So you're kind of right. You hit the nail on the head there for sure. And it was cool that you brought up like looking at his bars and the way he had them set up and how it was different from yours, how limited action set played in to how he was playing versus how you were set up was cool. So
yeah.
Roenick, Therek, what about you? How did that all feel? I mean, rewatching it, we've been again going through our own content, but what was your experience watching that all with everybody?
Yeah, it's funny because I noticed, and if I go chop again, just let me know. But I noticed that I was very conservative for the first little part of the dungeon in terms of like how I was using my mana, because you don't know once you're first time through a dungeon, you don't know how tough the mobs are. You don't know the frequency that you're going to see them. Like what's the pace that we're going to be in? Because I don't want to be out of mana for the next fight, so I was holding back. And then as I got a better feel for it, I was using the mechanics of the wizard more freely. So I was building up my focus to gain the benefits of what that brings. So you saw some of the, like, I'm glad that Roenick, you had the damage sort of after report combat fight damage numbers showing there, because it was kind of neat to see how my damage progressed over time. When I really got the focus all built up, I think to 5, and then I unleashed the big fireball. I can't remember the name of it, firebolt. I was hitting for 300 a pop with that spell, and at the end of the fight, I was over. I think minus what do you see? The biggest one was like 2,000
like 70,
something.
yeah, like 2,300. I think at one point.
2,300 at the end. So I love that. There's that learning period of the dungeon. Where we had to figure out what was going on, and once you get that feel for it, then you power into it. I didn't notice how dark it was the first time we were going through, and I know a lot of people in the stream watching it commented on the darkness, but I was so engaged in the fight that it kind of didn't. I didn't. It's sort of weird to say I didn't see the darkness, but I didn't feel the darkness as much in the moment. Watching it afterwards, I probably felt it a little more because I could see how dark it actually was. But
it was
interesting.
It was definitely dark.
It was dark, but that kind of, I guess, underscores the difference between watching it online and actually playing it. Because I don't think I really paid much attention to how dark it was when I was playing either. Like you're still like focused on the fight itself. Like you could still see what you needed to see, I think. But at the same time, there's part of me that really likes that. I don't think it's an accident that it's that dark, and that the lighting actually makes a difference, and that makes torches and spells that emit light like that much more valuable. And something that you need to take into consideration when you're going on an adventure. And I think people too will see that in our like extended videos. Joppa was talking about how the lighting plays a big part in exploration too, and there might be little like side alleys or something that you might not see unless you're carrying a torch. You know what I mean? And so if you're carrying a torch, then it's you might see these little cracks in the walls that you can actually slip through, and there's a whole other area on the other side too. So it adds an interesting element to it.
Well, it's funny too because Brian Rex said, Brian Rex said, crank your gamma up. When you watch my footage, I go down in this cave. You guys saw it where you go down the ladder where you learn how to climb. And I can't find anything. It's so dark. I didn't bring a torch. Everybody else probably had a torch. I did not. And it was so dark. So I actually said, I'm going to go into the settings and turn the gamma up. But there wasn't an option to do that. So I had to like figure it out. So it's kind of funny you said that, Rec. Therek, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say how it contrasted with the crystals, right? And I commented it during the stream that you were drawn to the crystals because they were a light source, but then you got the damage from to getting too close to them. So
don't follow the light.
Don't follow the light, right?
I just
and
want
you
to
could see things like far away. I think it was really cool.
That one part where everybody was where Minus was saying he's right there. The reason I didn't see that guy was because I turned the corner where he was, and I couldn't. It was so dark I couldn't even tell those were stairs. Like I just thought it was just a wall, and so I was like, "What is he talking about on the left?" And then I finally like moved my camera, and then I could see the top of the stairs. So it was dark, man, and like when you like. Minus having to go out and explore and like move ahead, or me having to find different things. It was difficult, man. And I think that it would be interesting in a post-launch world where you explore a place like that with limited lighting, because even the torch is very limited. And then later you go back there, maybe to go because your acclimation is better to go explore that one area or what have you. And then you realize with better lighting sources, spells and things, then you actually see the world for what it really is, right? So
yeah, and that's how it should be. I mean, think about it. Like in a realistic scenario, who in their right mind? This is a dungeon. Like, who would go into a dungeon without a light source? I mean, I don't know about you. In my own house, I like reach around a door to like flip the light switch on because I don't want to go into my own,
or like turn on the light on your phone.
Yeah, exactly. Like people, like you're as humans, you're afraid of the dark. You should be like, you don't know what is maybe lurking in the corner. I feel like that's how it should be.
And I think the thing for me was I wanted obviously to show the game as it's truly represented. I obviously I didn't want to be the one to pull out the torch. I didn't want to mess with any of the lighting settings when we post showed off the stream. Like it had to be a true representation of what's going on. So
yeah, like I said, I liked it in the moment, and I think it represented the game well. I do like how it looked, and for all those reasons that Nathan and Baz both talked about. Yeah, it's good reasons.
So what we want to do is really get into some questions. I do want to thank you, Roenick, for being a part. And everyone can see on the stream, Joppa's hanging out, lurking right now in channel. So welcome, Joppa. You guys are obviously welcome to speak up at any time. This is an open discussion. We are taking questions from the Twitch chat and we're putting them into that channel that we have. So we're going to start going down there. I don't know how long tonight's is going to go. We're having a late night already. I know a lot of people are tired. But let's start getting into some of these questions, if you guys don't mind. Is everybody good with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we're going to start in the eval build channel, and then green room, we will get to you towards the end. So if you want to get live on the air and chat or ask a question, please jump into the green room. Be ready to ask your question. Depending on how many we get, we may go through those questions quick. So ask your question. Thank you. And kind of go into detail. So DM Harms is the first one who had a question for everybody. And again, this is in our Discord. You can type !Discord to jump in there. It says, in group play, did you feel like your class was more a piece of the puzzle or just another apple in the barrel? Meaning, did you feel unique? Did you feel there was interplay between the different class types that would make it different with a different group makeup? Who wants to take that one first?
I will. I want to. Yeah, I want to say, first of all, we purposefully, by the way, guys, went in there like the original plan was we were going to be a full party. So obviously, VR was going to set where we had an enchanter because that's like the generic, I guess you could say, group makeup. You're going to need a CC, obviously. And Minus was the one actually who said, hey, why don't we try something different to show the viewers that you don't have to have the perfect group makeup, right? So when you're playing and naturally in the game post-launch, maybe there's not an enchanter available. Are you seriously not going to go do any content because you don't have the perfect group makeup? No, of course not. Or hopefully not, right? So we wanted to kind of show that. And I think we did well. I think we did probably better than the devs probably intended based on our group makeup. But that's the point, right? Like we proved that like you can just go have fun. Just whoever is available, get them together and go on an adventure because we pulled it off pretty dang good. So that's what I felt. And I felt like everybody had to work together. Everybody in this party was doing their own thing. And if any of us messed up, I messed up on a switch over. I thought Minus didn't get I thought he failed on his trap, or I didn't even know what in the heck he was doing, to be honest. I just thought he messed up. So I tried to do a provoking fans and I screwed everything up and we almost died, So, yeah, I feel like every single person had to play their role.
Eric, what do you think about, roles and how everybody played out?
Yeah, no, I'm not sure how much interplay my class as the wizard had with the other classes we had. Like I know my role was damage dealing, and the interrupts. Okay, I mean that's I think where this really comes in is that me and Nathan had to really work together to sync up our interrupts or to alternate them. And I think you heard that on stream. I really like that came through. So that's where I would go with this. And outside of that, maybe not as much as another class. I think the wizard, as it stands right now, there's a process or there's a way of doing it that you can sort of make it work optimally, I guess. So I don't know. I mean, and yes and no, I guess is my answer. In one way, yes, in another way, it didn't feel like there was too much interdependence. But that's, again, we're working with limited. We don't have the full tool set available to us through this playthrough. I didn't have. You
just want to play a ranger, admit it.
Although, Therek, I gotta say, one of my it seems like such a minor thing, but one of my favorite moments from that entire session was when we were pulling something and a Celis creeper came with it, and we were attacking. I don't know, it was like the Hayaket first, and I called out to get rid of that creeper because it's an ambient mob, so it's got low hit points but high DPS. And you just instantly nuked it, which I think is something that probably only a wizard would be able to do. Just like one shot that creeper.
That felt pretty good.
that was such like a satisfying moment to me because I feel like that's exactly how it should be. That's why those mobs are there. Like they're the sort of thing where they seem kind of innocuous, but if you let them live too long, they're just gonna chew away at you. And so I think that just like that big nuke was the perfect response.
Yeah, that nuke felt great. I mean, at times that nuke felt really good. And like you said, with that one, and there were a couple instances later as well with those little spiders where it was just getting to the point where I could just basically finish them with like 75% of their health in one shot. And it was pretty satisfying. So you don't want that on like, and that's the thing, you don't want that on like the main mob, but you want to be able to do that to the ambient stuff. Like for those reasons that you said, they hang around and then they cause problems, right? If you don't do that. So yeah, I enjoyed that.
And Bazgrim, you kind of talked already about how you and Roenick were able to kind of fill different roles in the same class, which is pretty interesting. So
yeah, like I said, I think we were like two sides of the same coin that I think was interesting. I think we kind of like filled that out pretty well. I'm guessing it would have been a lot more difficult if we had just had one shaman or like one healer. I feel like I definitely noticed. I think we worked pretty well together. Obviously, as like the dedicated healer, I felt important, but I noticed Roenick was filling in with some spot heals there. Like if particularly if Nate got like really low health, obviously we would both kind of have to. He would stop doing DPS, and we both kind of have to heal you back up. So it was kind of interesting like that. I don't think we really experienced any like the state manipulation, as Joppa says it. Did you guys notice any of your abilities that could do that? You could like put things into states, because I don't remember us ever really like coordinating between classes on that stuff.
So I definitely had them. Some of the fire spells, I believe, put the mobs into a windswept state. At least in the mastery points, that's what it was described as. And I don't know if it was in effect, but there was another one that had off balance as well. I don't remember which spell it was.
Off balance as well.
Yeah. Me and Bazgrim were supposed to be able to. The Dire Lord and the Shaman are supposed to synergize really well with Primal Fury, but it wasn't. We didn't have it in our toolkit. I don't know if that's like a beyond level 20 thing or whatever. But I know I was like really looking forward to that. Like, hey, when we go to this dungeon, I'm gonna tell Bazgrim about Primal Fury, and it's gonna be awesome because it's supposed to bring up my crits, which would increase my provoking phantoms. So, but we didn't have it available. I was really excited to try it though. So
Primal Fury is a shaman ability.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I definitely don't remember seeing that one.
Yeah,
unfortunately,
it wasn't in there. Yeah,
it's interesting. As a rogue, I mean, obviously, I felt pretty important and pretty different from everybody with the way I was playing. It was very interesting, as you guys have brought up, to see the numbers on Roenick's stream. Whenever, like, I didn't realize how much damage I was doing, to be honest, and it was pretty crazy. And I was like, me and Therek, where I was like going back and forth, because it was interesting to see those damage numbers, because we watched Therek learn. At the beginning, I was wrecking him. And then all of a sudden, like as the fights went on and he learned how to use his mana, you started to see that. And he took me over like towards the end, which was pretty cool. But yeah, as a rogue, I felt very different. I felt very unique. I love the utility of the class. So for me, I've been constantly saying, please don't sacrifice our utility to give us more DPS. Make us that in between class. I would love it. So we'll see what happens there. But Roenick, anything that you want to add to that, or just talk about what it was like to film this stream? You've been a part of quite a few streams with players playing, different people, solo, devs. What did you have fun? What were you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, this was probably the most fun I've had in a stream, just because it felt like I was playing in a real group with a bunch of friends. Just experiencing the game rather than having to, instruct or kind of tell exactly what we were doing. We were just playing, and I think the game comes through the best when it is that. When you can see that it's just a bunch of guys or people having fun. So that was great. Although I will say the Jim Lee stream was pretty awesome too, just because I'm a huge Jim Lee fan. So that was pretty sick. But as far as the gameplay, and I'd love Joppa to chime in here. When I play a shaman, when I'm in the other streams, I am healing, and I'm focused mostly on healing. And this time around, it was a lot of DPS and debuffing. And I'd be curious, again, I want Joppa to maybe see if he can chime in, how much that debuffing was affecting the enemies, because I was throwing a lot on there, and in our game, stats really mean a lot. So when you take away somebody's, even like a -1 to agility or something, I would feel like that would impact it. But CP, do you want to chime in at all? Or are you FK again?
Yeah. Hey everybody. Yeah, cool. That was it's a good question to ask, and to keep it really concise. The goal is that it would feel really meaningful to be a debuffer. I don't think we're there yet. I don't think it has quite the impact yet that we want to see it have, but you should feel very legitimate as a shaman with a loadout focused on crippling, debuffing, and especially if you throw the damage in on top of that, it should feel very potent because stats are significant. And I think the way we will go about improving that is just probably increasing the amount that the debuffs are able to reduce the statistics at a bit of a lower level. And then again, through mastery, just kind of blowing that open, and you can have a level 20 shaman if they say, you know what, I'm just going all in on this crippler debuff kind of role. They may put all their points in those abilities, and that would be very significant to a group. So answer is yes.
Awesome. Let's go to the next question. It's from Ogre2, Paul, from our Discord server. He says, what are the pros and cons of the eval build? I know we have lots of content to devour in the coming days and weeks ahead of the stream, but I'd like to know your personal opinions. I'll start if you guys don't mind. For me, it's interesting, right? You have to play this game of thinking from multiple perspectives. So as the hardcore MMOers who've been following Pantheon for a long time, I mean, even in this channel, Therek, you've been since the Kickstarter. There's some, I'm the newest out of everybody here who's been following the game. So there's a lot of it where we just want to be MMO fans, right? And see the difficulty and get in there and we understand a lot of things. The eval build and trying to take that step back is super important, because for us to be able to play this game for a long time, they're going to have to get the funds to get it out. They're going to have to explain this game in a quick way to somebody. And, playing the eval build was really fun. And I have to say the biggest thing that I walked away from the eval build is, one, it's group dependent, at least where the difficulty was for us, for sure. And number two, I just found myself looking at everything, and we still missed a ton. Baz, you found a way to communicate with a gnoll and speak their language, and I didn't do that. Therek, I don't know. I think you didn't. And so none of us discovered that, even though we had all this time to spend in the eval, but there was so much to it. And when you watch that, you may not get that feel because you're going to be familiar with the areas, but we discovered a lot of different things. Like I looked out the window, right? And Therek looked out the window. Therek saw something outside the window that I didn't see. And I don't know if anybody else saw. Poor Bazgrim couldn't see out the window.
God damn.
That was one of my favorite moments from the whole thing. Well, you'll see it in our stuff and our content, but me and Bazgrim were staring at the window, but poor Bazgrim had to jump constantly to see out the window.
You know that scene in the Two Towers was the Battle of Helm's Deep, and Gimli can barely see over the wall, and he's like jumping. That's how I felt.
Now I wonder if there's a way to learn the Wolfkin. Right, because you get that werewolf. Actually, there was two, I believe.
Actually, I misspoke. I said I was talking to a gnoll. It was actually a wolf. It looked like an old.
Okay.
But yes. So this is actually interesting. So I got this stone that allowed me to speak Wolfkin and understand what he was saying to me. Which was cool, and I noticed it was actually one of the first things that I did, completely on accident. I talked to the wolf first, could not understand what he was saying. Then I went over to another NPC, and she was like, "Hey, I noticed you were trying to talk to that wolf over there again." So I almost wish I could have seen what that person would have said if I had talked to them in the reverse order, because the dialogue that I was having with that NPC was completely dependent on the dialogue that I already had with another NPC. So then that allowed me to open up this dialogue option where she's like, "Hey, like I have this stone, if you hold it, you should be able to talk to him. And so I went right back over there. Totally worked. I was able to have a conversation with him. I kept that stone with me. I found another wolf in the fortress there, the one that actually that Ko found in his stream, that he just happened to say, oh, I wish I could understand what this guy was saying. I went up to that wolf, and it told me that I couldn't understand what he was saying because he was a different tribe of wolfkin that spoke a different dialect. So I actually couldn't have a conversation with him, which I thought was interesting.
That's awesome, man. I had no idea that you went that deep with it. I can't wait to watch that.
and that goes into some. Remember back when Joppa was showing off with Bendine, they were showing off the perception system, and like he showed how something, I don't remember exactly, but if he clicked on something before he talked to the NPC, so there was some of that already in this evaluation build, which I thought was fantastic. Like that, like what Bazgrim saw that's cool.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? I mean, as far as the original question, like what's the pros and cons of it? I think the pro is you get a very quick look and can understand what Pantheon is. I think that if there was a con, just to answer the question, I don't think it's a con, but if there was a con, for the highly devoted, very knowledgeable Pantheon fan, it's not going to do as much for you, even though we had a blast for 3 hours. You're not going to be able to play it for 20 hours. But it's going to give the right amount of understanding what Pantheon is to the right people, is the way I would put it. Anybody else have any feedback on that?
No, I mean, that's pretty much my thoughts on it as well. I don't have anything to add to that.
I think yeah, I get what you're saying. I think it is, even as a dedicated follower of the game, though, it is still nice to see it all in one place. And there is some stuff that is entirely new. It might not be completely earth-shattering stuff, but like it is nice. I kind of look at it from a different perspective, though. Like I'm thinking broad picture, like philosophically, the pros and cons of having an evaluation build, like from a project standpoint. Like why did the devs decide to do it this way? Why did they decide to really actually focus hard and make this area that is specifically designed for, publishers and investors and that sort of thing? I initially had some concerns, actually, that, they put all this development time into developing this area that was essentially going to be thrown out once they do get like the investment or publisher that they need, which is not entirely a bad thing. I think it is. I almost kind of thought of it as this necessary evil at first, where it's like, sometimes I get you have to take one step back in order to take two steps forward. Like I think we can all agree that the getting that boost in funding is pretty necessary in order for the game to be delivered in a timely manner. So it's like, okay, like I get why they had to do that. Although before that we went into that dungeon, I asked Joppa, and this is in the extended recording, I asked him about that and was pleasantly surprised to hear that Fortress de Vair as a zone is a real place in Terminus that you'll be able to go to post launch. Now, obviously, and Joppa, you can, if I'm misquoting, you can clarify, but obviously for the purposes of the evaluation build, it's been kind of modified to be more of like a condensed and accelerated experience. Like it obviously won't be a 1-for-1 copy when you go there post launch, but I thought it was kind of nice to hear, though, that it's not like it's not all just going to get thrown out, like that it's still contributing, building content in the world.
Yep. Therek, anything? Or Joppa, again?
We're just going to confirm that it is a canon-based location, and it's an area that we're actually really excited about in terms of where it exists in the world and all of the different story arcs that connect to it. It's a very significant location, actually, for many reasons. and excited for more of that to be revealed.
Awesome. Therek, Nathan, anything to add to what was said before we move to the next question?
Yeah, so I wanted to also add that something I noticed was that they made the experience a little bit smoother, right? There's some tooltips. There was some stuff going on there that would be good for you've got an investor come in that's interested, wants to see what it's all about, and I thought there was a very decent amount of that, right? And I'm super happy to hear that this is going to be a real place because as fans waiting for this game, we want all the development time to go to something that's going to get us closer to launch. So you know what I mean? So when I heard that, it was very relieving to hear that, because number one, the place is cool. It's a very interesting place. I want to go back down in there with better better glyphs and what have you, and better acclimation, and explore some more. So yeah, I'm super happy it's in the game.
That's tough, isn't it? Like, I think that's one of the most difficult things with open game development like this, where everybody is watching the game being made, is that it's really just, I think it's just ingrained in our nature as humans. It's really hard to accept that progress is not always perfectly linear. You know what I mean? Like, we want to just always be moving forward. So it's sometimes difficult to accept that, sometimes, like I said before, you have to take a step back intentionally in order to take 2 steps forward, like, thinking longer game, because it's going to be beneficial in the end. I would even probably put like the whole refactor in that category as well. Like, it's kind of one of those like tough decisions that you have to make. It's like, yeah, we got to go backwards a little bit, but it's because it's going to pay off in the end. So yeah, that's something I think about often, because I don't think everybody looks at it that way.
Yeah. Eric, anything to add before we move on?
Nope.
So I'll let you answer this one, guys, because the comment was made about how much I talk. How from Gulu Gulu says, how integral did you feel the group communication was? How do you think this would affect a world of strangers?
Well, I think it was demonstrated how important it is. And somebody mentioned, there was a comment during the stream about, there's just no way, like, if you're not in voice, it's going to be really tricky to coordinate a thing like this. And I agree with that. I mean, I think we are sort of at the point where just being keyboard communication is going to be difficult. So I don't know. I think my experience here is sort of been enlightening, or just reinforced for me how important group communication is. And if you can do it in by typing, you can, great. But man, you got to be on your game, and being in voice is a huge advantage. So
what do you guys think?
Nathan, yeah, I don't think we would have done nearly as well if we hadn't been communicating as well as we did. And some people in my stream were like, I don't think I would want that much chatter in my ear, like nonstop, if they were in a group. But I will say too, I think to some degree we were maybe intentionally over communicating, again, because knowing that there are people watching. I think we were kind of explaining in more detail what we were doing than we would otherwise, because there's something about Pantheon's combat that it's so it is extremely deep and strategic, but not all of that strategy is entirely obvious to just the casual observer, and it might be overlooked. But again, like we were saying earlier, like, being there when you're actually playing, if you're playing it firsthand, it's intense, but that intensity isn't always translated, when people are just watching. So I think the communication just between us, coordinating like our interrupts and stuff like that, and positioning all the different mobs and stuff, was absolutely vital. But to some degree. Hopefully it was a little bit more fun to watch it because you could understand more of the intricacies of what were going on because we were explaining it.
Yeah, I'll agree. You know, I am very raid leadery, and that's it's funny because I actually had some conversations with different people about being nervous about playing a rogue because as a tank, you can be pretty vocal. Okay, I'm pulling, stand back, let's fight this mob. But it's weird because the Pantheon rogue is a phenomenal scout, and with the CC I currently have, please don't nerf it too much. It's awesome. Like it feels so good. It feels like I imagine Monk is gonna have some capability too, to be a great puller. But man, I just loved it. So awesome. Yeah, I talk a lot, right, Therek?
Yes, but you know that's what conversation is, right?
Nice.
Yeah, and I also want to mention too about the talking a lot and all that kind of thing is that all we knew, you got to understand, this was like barely charted territory, right? Like we'd seen it on a stream with Co, and we studied it like crazy, but they told us they were tuning up the difficulty. And so we were just like trying to be as prepared as we could to provide the most entertainment we could. And to be honest, I think we all felt that little bit of like, I don't want my nerd card revoked, right? Like, I've got to do some stuff here that makes sense. So, you know, we took it pretty seriously. And I know me, the whole time I was just thinking like, you know, we gimped ourselves in a way because we don't have an enchanter already. We don't have a full party. So the entire time I was just like, look, we got to, every pull has got to be important, right? So, and you know what? I think we would have went in there, and if you guys would have let me just charge in the couple of times I wanted to, I wanted to because I was just like, it'll be fun. Like we'll do this, we'll see what happens. Let's keep a little chaos going in here. But yeah, I think we kind of, in the situation we were in, we really didn't have to communicate that much, in my opinion.
I'm not gonna lie, like it's nice. You know, Joppa and I are just so used to trying to fill space.
Whoa.
And it was nice having somebody else talk for a change, you know, especially in a gameplay stream. You know, it could obviously be a lot of dead air if you're just playing, and so you definitely took care of no dead air minus, that's for sure.
Yeah, you know, I was concerned about there not being any combat music, in that there would be too much dead air, but I think minus was our combat music.
Whoa.
I didn't
I want to
sing
make
this
one
stream.
point here too.
Again.
That's probably really easy to miss, but you guys were crawling the entire time, and that's a very different way of playing that requires constant recalibration, constant communication. Whereas if you crawled to a spot and then kind of settled there and hung out there, then, and I'm saying this mainly for the people who are maybe concerned about the level of chatter and the constant, you know, complication of having to communicate, and like that's how it is if you're constantly on the move, and that may be the way you choose to do things. But there's also the group moving in, getting set up, and then, you know, you have that kind of room to talk and just kind of exist there in between pools and whatnot.
That I'm actually really glad you brought that up, because that was something that I wanted to ask you about. When in the moment is like I could see where some people might think that, you know, it almost looked kind of like an instance dungeon where it was just us and we were just kind of continually moving through the dungeon. Like, would we have been able to just like set up a camp somewhere? Like how, or even just in the broader game, like do you expect it to be equally viable to crawl through a dungeon compared to setting up a camp? Because I think most people, they're going to do whatever is most efficient, right? So it's like, how often do you think, how often do you expect there to be that balance between like actively moving through a dungeon and then just setting up a place and pulling?
It really comes down to what you're after. You know, it's a funny thing, because you would think that, you know, maybe being on the move constantly would be most efficient, and yet often getting in a really solid rhythm, pulling to a camp, ends up being a more efficient thing. but it also depends on, how many other people are in the zone. And I think you go back to historical reference and you just say, the reason that you didn't crawl through Guck constantly is because, number one, you were scared of dying, and number two, because you were looking for a drop. You were looking for an open camp spot where you could set up and do some EXP. But there were enough players present elsewhere in the area to keep you from being able to move around like that. So that's why I think the streams end up lending themselves to that, because we're usually by ourselves in there. It's a single group, so everything's open, and there really isn't that concept of like, for example, a group may come in because they want the Fang of the Shade Spider. So they want to go down and camp the Grave Mother. Like, that's what they're looking for, that spot. So they crawl through looking to see if it's open. They do a CC, hopefully, and the person's responding. But they get there and they find that it's open. They move in and they set up. If it's not, then they may check, to see if the count is up. They may check to see if Hayek's up. So yes, it's intended to be kind of able to be whatever you want it to be, as long as there's room to do it and it's open. And yeah.
Awesome. The next question here, I'm going to give you this one to answer, Therek. This kind of plays into you. It's from Crowsinger. So how much of a feeling of the world did you get from this? Would a newcomer just feel it was a generic dungeon, or is there a sense that it's part of a greater world? What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question. I think there were enough perception pings throughout what we saw tonight. I mean, if you're talking about just what we saw tonight, we saw, a lot of perception pings. But if we're talking about the greater experience that we had playing the build, there was way more. And I think that those are what sort of give you context for the greater world. It's hard to see it when you can't actually go there, or you don't know, how to go there. So you have a hard time sort of conceptualizing the greater world. But I think that there's enough story, and I think there's enough, if we're just thinking about what we saw tonight with the dungeon crawl, some of the items, some of the dialogue from Count Galleon, when we were fighting Count Galleon, I was reading what he was saying while we were killing him, right? Because he was talking about things with the Azure Queen and about, or the Azure Queen was, at least my interpretation of what we were reading was something to do with how he became enthralled and how he came under her spell. I think things like that, will keep players seeing the bigger picture a little bit. So I don't know. I felt it, but that's also because I had the experience of going through the fortress and looking at a lot of other stuff. So
yeah. It's funny between your stream and mine. Because you guys will hear, when we played the first little bit, we didn't just talk over each other. We kind of just talked to our own stream and did almost as if we were streaming it. So you're going to get a lot of different commentary where you're not going to hear the other people in the first 2 hours. There's a couple times where a question was asked, or Joppa comes in, or Roenick, or someone, Ben, talks. But for the most part, the first 2 hours of what you see is really just going to be us talking about what we experience. So what's interesting is I kind of lost my train of thought, but as I was playing, I didn't read the lore. I skipped through it. And I said, hey guys, watch Therek's stream if you want to see all this, because
Me too.
it could be right, because he's going to be covering it like crazy. I just want to get going. And so what everyone just brought up is, it's funny because I thought people would expect this, but Therek said no. If you look down in the bottom left-hand corner in the video footage, I'm crafting. I was just constantly talking crafting down.
Whoa.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to craft. And that was the plan all along. And Therek, you said you didn't, you fell for it.
It was a total curveball, man. It was a total curveball. I don't know if you were planning that ahead of time. I'm guessing you were, but to have that crafting sort of, to see your name, because we were a group the whole time we were playing, to see your name with the crafting, the blacksmithing bar underneath it going up. And I was like, what is he doing? I'm like, are you kidding me? He's crafting. Okay. Well, I think it was a wise move on your part. I enjoyed it a lot.
Nathan, did you feel like this was part of the world?
Yeah, I did. That's why I was excited to hear that it would be. There was a lot of the perception pings that were just super mysterious, right? And if we wouldn't have been limited on time, I would have probably spent hours delving deeper into it. For example, I tried to grab an apple. For some reason, I thought I'd be able to just eat apples regular. I thought it would help picking up every freaking apple. But I tried to pick up an apple when I was in the basement, and I accidentally clicked the like a wood panel there, and there was like a message carved on it that was like a riddle, and it was like, one eye up, one eye down. She has no face. She always looks down. I don't know. I'm making up, but it was something like that. And I wanted to figure out what that, because that obviously led to something, right? Like, but I couldn't, I couldn't figure out as I was running through, scrambling around, mostly scared I wouldn't make it to the dungeon in time. Everybody would be waiting for me. But I found so many things like that where it was just like, this obviously isn't just here for no reason, right? Like there's more to this story. And so those are the kind of things to me that bind me. And the perception system, when you're just playing the game, you naturally find these pings. It feels exactly like when you're playing Dungeons and Dragons and your dungeon master is explaining the room, but you notice that he throws in a certain something about it, right? Like there's a slight draft, or I don't know, something to where you're like, hey, wait a minute, there's something to that. Let's investigate a little further or what have you. So I think that's what the perception system feels like to me. A DM just like kind of giving you some information of what you perceived, and then you trying to figure out what you can do with that information to dive in deeper.
All right, try to rifle through some of these questions so we can get the people in the green room for a tiny bit. LaFell says, what feature, we'll answer quick, everybody just answer fastest. What feature was not in the eval build that you wish you had seen or existed? Nathan?
Ranger.
Ranger. Yeah, Paladin, absolutely.
One word answer. That's a quick one for you.
Baz?
No, actually, dispositions, I know they were in, we saw like the pyrophobic Celis Creeper. I was a little underwhelmed though as to how common dispositions were and how much of an impact they had. Again, like I know it's like a fairly small sample size, but I was hoping that we would run into some different dispositions and that they would actually really make us like think and approach combat differently. I didn't feel that way. Same with manifestations. I don't know if those are even in yet, but the boss fight was a little bit different than it was in the co-stream. I don't know if that was because of a manifestation or maybe it was just patched or she just used some different abilities. But like that giant blue force field thing, I don't think we had ever seen that before. We had no idea what that was.
I ran like hell from that. I had no idea what it did, but I ran.
Yeah, so that was kind of cool, but yeah, I guess that's really the first thing that comes to mind is I would have liked to see a little bit more variety.
Yeah, I would have liked to see a little bit more rogue traps. So playing going full support did a good job, but there's a few rogue traps that I didn't get that I think would have made it even crazier, which at least those won't be nerfed hopefully. So let's go to the next question here. This one's for Joppa. Joppa, it's a real easy one. Don't worry, I'm not putting you on the spot. Dev Sonata says, does Minus ever learn how to pronounce Majin?
Based on what you just said, no.
That's answer.
Oh, on point again.
The emphasis is on the Majin.
Majin Buu. Like Majin Buu, guys. Like Dragon Ball Z, man. Come on now. Come on. I'm gonna revoke all y'all's nerd cards.
Let's see here. Go through a couple more here. So from the Twitch stream, thoughts on the level of darkness? Lots of comments on this during the Twitch stream. Too much, just right. Quick answer. What do you guys think?
I want to bring up something that was in the chat during the stream because it was interesting and Joppa, this was something actually you said, so I'm probably just paraphrasing, but I think what you said was because of the blindness from the crystals, in combination with the darkness was impairing the vision. It was making it hard to see, and you said that it lessens as your acclimation score improves. So it's not like an on-off. It's like as your acclimation gets better, that vision impairing effect gets toned down. Is that correct? Is that right?
Yep, that's correct.
Cool.
And just an important note on those, that the visual that you see, like the green stuff on the screen, that is, I mean, I would go so far as to say that it's kind of a placeholder. It's a static, hand-drawn piece of art by Jared, our lead concept artist, to represent the toxic environment. It's not even animated like the frigid one is, that kind of creeps in to your screen. It's very placeholdery. And once we get to the point in development where we're going to some of these things and polishing them and improving them, it's going to take on probably a pretty noticeably different look. Just in general, all of the acclimations will improve, or all of the climate visualizations will improve dramatically. But yes, so this is a tier 1 mild toxic climate, and so it is not. It's not even doing the full, like a full tier 5 toxic climate will just absolutely annihilate your visibility. It's going to do a ton of damage. It's going to, the vision's going to be very, very blurry, in addition to, the visual effects going on the screen. And that's not so much that you literally can't see where you're going, but it's meant to be a really serious thing that you run into. And it's meant to create that sense of tension. I've mentioned it before, when you're deep in an ocean.
Whoa.
And you're getting to a level of pressure where your screen, like the screen effect for pressure, is going to be like cracking glass. So it's going to look like the glass of your screen is cracking and snapping and all this stuff. And when you get in that environment with the audio and the surroundings, it's meant to be really intense, and it's meant to kind of scare you or inhibit you from trying to push too deeply. It doesn't mean that you can't, but it's going to be tough. Now, I think the crystals, one of the things we're seeing from the crystals here is that, we don't want it to be annoying. We don't want it to be so off and on. Usually in places like frigid and pressure, it's going to be like a constant, because once you're that deep, it's not like you're going to be hitting pockets of pressure. So that's part of what we want to consider, is how to improve the UI visual make sure that it's done in a way where when it is more off and on like this, that it's not as annoying.
It should be
it's
kind
still
of
very
right.
much work in progress.
It should definitely.
I mean, kind of, yes, but we don't want it to be like, we don't want it to be unenjoyably annoying, if that makes sense.
Unless you're a rogue, right?
Unless you're a rogue. Yeah.
There was a question that came up in my stream, Joppa, that I wanted to pass along, because I think it's a good question, about races having innate bonuses to their vision, basically. In other words, would dwarves be able to see better in darkness than other races?
Yeah, vision will be a big thing. I mean, we're taking darkness seriously. We're taking things like messing with visibility and doing, actual things with that. And the ability to see better in low light will definitely be a racial thing. There will be some races that are able to do that more, better, more better. And then there'll be, items and artifacts, especially, that you can find that will supply that if you don't have that innately.
If you graduate your class to a Majin, you can actually get better. Yeah. Interesting question here. There's a lot of questions we've answered. Yeah. Don't worry. Therek knows, once I get it right, I'll never get it right again.
Yeah. So true.
So here's an interesting question, and we're skipping some questions because we've covered it. This one is a big question here. Is anyone's performance in this stream going to affect where they end up getting drafted in the upcoming 2021 Pantheon MMO RPG Dungeon Group Draft? Nathan, I mean, what do you think? You think that anyone moved up a little bit or down because of this performance?
Yeah, I think for sure. I think there's going to be a lot of decisions. I think it'll be studied quite ridiculously until people find out their best team. I know I'll be making some different selections this time personally. So.
All right. So yeah, the dungeon draft is coming up. Nice little.
I will say,
yeah.
I may have held back a little bit just so I could let Bazgrim kind of, be in the light.
Here we go.
So I don't want my performance in tonight's stream. I think there are plenty of other streams where, if we're going, draft value, that's my pitch. That's all I'm going to say.
Now, Roenick, I'm going to give a spoiler out. Are you ready for this? Do you remember last year you had a double roll, so it made you a little more important?
I do remember that.
You actually there's 2 different Roenicks to draft.
Oh, now there's 2 Roenicks this year?
2 Roenicks this year. It's a secret surprise. There are 2 different Roenicks that you can draft in there. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out. So.
Oh God, one of them's a corpse, I'm sure.
Joppa, I mean, Joppa, you were sort of disrespected, and I kind of want to apologize. I mean, you went like 3rd or 4th round or something last year. I mean, what? Do you have anything to say on that? I mean, that was kind of weird.
I think it would be weird for me to try to say something about that. I am just kind of enjoying the ride, and at the end of the day, I get to work on this game, and so I'm happy, satisfied. And if I go first, that's great. If I go last, that's great. I'll tell you this. I know that the card that represented me certainly did not represent the full array of my abilities. So whether or not you can figure out what it's going to take to unlock all those, I'm not sure. But
we'll pass that along to Drac.
We'll see how it goes.
All right, I just want to say too on the Joppa thing real quick that this is gathered a fan base at its core at this point in time of people who like a challenge. So obviously, people aren't going to pick Joppa first. They like to be challenged.
I mean, that's a great point. That's a great point. Nobody wants easy mode all the time. Not even me. I wouldn't draft myself.
There you go. Yeah, who would ever draft themselves? That's awful.
Who would do that? I wonder.
Who would ever do that? Let's see here. Quick question for Joppa, then we're going to get to the green room when we wrapping up here in a little bit. Joppa, if you're okay to answer this, how easy was it to retune the evaluation build to make it more difficult?
So I've got to give massive props here to Sacred. Sacred has just been one of our MVP additions to our team. He has taken over the mantle of the tuning and the numbers, and he's just doing an absolutely amazing job. And so, I mean, he can speak to it a little bit in the chat, but it's really, I mean, honestly, I was very impressed with the time frame that I've given him, because it is the evaluation build. We do have different, demos that we're doing with different parties, usually every week or every other week in this current little stretch we're in here. And we had to do 2 different builds this week, one for an upcoming evaluation with, some interested parties and needing the kind of, little bit of the tuned down approach we've been talking about. And then we had the one with you guys where we wanted to tune it up, and he was able to tune the one, and then we shipped that build out, and then quickly, within a couple of hours, do the tuning for you guys. So he's got it to the point now where we're able to tune on that scale very quickly, but it's also just we're getting closer and closer and closer to finding that like live tuning kind of point that we want to be at. And it was really good getting the feedback we got even from what you guys did. And I know his personal goal is to here very soon, try to get things where next PA session, maybe the one after, we can start really calling it more kind of right on the nose. So I'm super impressed with the work that he's done. And it's pretty awesome to be able to tune it like we're able to tune it so quickly.
Awesome. Thanks for going into detail on that. Okay, so we have a few people in our green room. You guys have time to jump in there. We have probably at most another 20 minutes or so. Depending on how this goes with green room, we might drop out earlier, but the green room we are going to go to now. We're going to pull people in to come live on the air to ask your questions. We're going to go kind of quick through it so we can try to get more people in. So if you're in Discord and you want to jump in the green room, please do. We'll do our best to get to everybody in the time limit. But right now we have Galith, Desrin, and Ekif. What do you think? Was that Ekif, Therek? How would you say that? Ekif. I think it's Ekif. Yeah, right. So
right. Something like that.
Yeah, so first, I want to give a big shout out to Galith. He's actually been gathering questions for us and putting them into the eval channel, the ones we've been able to ask tonight from the Twitch. So really, really good stuff there. So let's go ahead and Galith, if you're ready, unmute your mic. I'll bring you into chat with us if you want to ask another question or ask a question you had. Be glad to do that, and then we'll answer and toss you back to the green room. So Galith's coming in now. Hey, Galith, welcome to Pantheon PlusYou. How are you?
Doing real good. How are y'all?
Doing awesome.
Doing great.
Well, I really enjoyed what I watched. I haven't seen all y'all's 3-hour streams yet, obviously. Really looking forward to Minus's because he did some crafting. One question I had that I posted in the eval build that y'all didn't get to is I was wondering what y'all's favorite moment from the perception system that you found. Was there any moment where the perception system activated that sort of stood out to you?
It's for me, that's a hard question. It's probably the hardest question you could ask because there were so many and they were all they all led to further questions, which I think is like sort of the goal, like it makes you look around, it makes you think about something. I'll give you one and you're going to see it in some of the content that I do, but in the one of the areas there was a map on the wall and we saw it in the co-stream. But Ko never looked at it. He never tried to interact with it. And I made a mental note to go back and check it out. And it's interactable. So, and there was a really good perception ping that led me to it, and then a good dialogue, I guess, when I got to it. So, it's a good example of I think something that I'm looking for from the perception system.
Nathan, any that stood out?
Yeah, the one I was talking about stood up the most to me. That was a riddle, because that's going to drive me nuts. What that was trying to lead me to. But there was so many, like you said. Like there was a marble game on a table. There was it was almost like anything that would catch your eye that you'd be like, what's that? There would be some kind of information to delve further. So it was really more for me just the overall feeling like everything in that world meant something.
Yeah,
it could be a secret.
Exactly.
As?
Yeah, well, obviously what I was talking about earlier, I think is probably the thing that surprised me the most was the conversation that I had with the couple of NPCs that allowed me to actually speak the Wolfkin's language. That was the thing that caught me off guard the most, and that was like very early on too. I was so surprised that I just happened to talk to those NPCs in the right order that led me to that dialogue option. That was pretty awesome. But also on top of that, like you were saying, Nate, like one of the most impressive things about the perception system is how dense it is, in how like you can literally learn about almost every single object in the environment. I'm not quite sure how they pulled that off to be able to do that on that scale.
Yeah. For me, it was an interesting one. In Joppa, you actually chimed in because somebody asked a question, and there was a Dire Lord quest that Nathan, you took advantage of. And Nathan was joking, and you'll see it in his stream, about killing what maybe was an innocent person, right? So it's really interesting. So part of the Dire Lord area and going through the intro quest, like for the rogue, you guys have seen it already. I go steal a dagger, I get him some fish, blah, blah, blah. Well, there was a scene where there was a guy in the hallway, a shady figure, who asked if you wanted to take on a mission. Now, what's interesting is when I started the build, I had to tell them what I was looking for. And I had 3 options. There was like, and I'm not going to remember them all. I don't remember them. There was like something about like shadow hidden or hidden in the shadows was a rogue type. And then there was, there were 3, I don't remember them. And then the second one,
the Hidden Society, Dark Traders, and the Assassin's Guild.
There you go. So I picked Assassin's Guild. And what's interesting is because I picked Assassin's Guild, I got access to that quest, which was meant for Dire Lord. So it was interesting because I went to the door and it said you hear footsteps behind the door, but I couldn't open it. And I walked down the hallway and there's this shady figure. He's like, I have a task for you. And it was just like nod my head. He told me what I wanted to do. I had options. I said, take the key, get it done. So I go and I killed somebody for him as an assassin, went back and I got gold for it. So it was, I looted, so not gold, but whatever, copper. I looted from him and then I was able to get it. So Nathan got to do that quest because he was a Dire Lord, but because I picked Assassin's Guild, I got to do that quest as well. And that was really cool. Like, and I didn't realize that it just happened for me, right? I picked Assassin's Guild. Like, oh, cool, I can do this quest. But then when Therek's like, oh, I didn't see that. And Bazgrim's like, oh, I didn't see that. And then Nathan did. It was kind of confusing until Joppa chimed in and said, did you pick Assassin's Guild? Here's why. So really interesting how I'm picking a dialogue option within the perception system, within discussion, led me into something. It kind of unlocked something for me, which is kind of cool. It was like a flag that we've talked about a lot with perception.
And you guys will see that quest, and it'll be interesting to see too what minute differences from getting who he got the quest from, etc. But you guys will get to see that in our different gameplay playthroughs. But one thing I took away from that, and I talk about it in my playthrough, is it makes you feel so dirty, man. The way that the dialogue happens to go do it, and then his reaction when you turn it in, it just wasn't that typical MMO kind of approach. It, because I'm a Dire Lord, so like, it felt, and I'm not a Dire Lord, I'm actually a Paladin, so it really actually felt dirty. I actually was like, that was screwed up. Like,
and that's true. Nathan gets really upset. Like when we play the MMO game, like we've been playing a lot of MMORPGs together. He gets really upset when he has to do something that's not Paladin-like. So he's legit when he's saying that.
I'm legit. I really don't like to do evil things in games. It actually bothers me. So, and it made me feel really dirty. And then I heard some other NPCs talking not long after, and they're like, yeah, there's been some, I don't remember the exact words. There's been some very horrible things been happening in the castle lately or something like that. And they're probably talking about the Count, etc. But when I heard it, I was like, man, it's been killed.
They're talking about you.
I killed some random guy. Yeah, so
that's too funny.
I'm really glad to hear that. It's so incredibly difficult to get that kind of thing baked into the quest structure to sort of feel like you should be ashamed. And I mean, more people do the good side than evil side, statistically speaking, when it comes to games with decisions like that. But it really makes me happy to learn that they, even in a game where that's not explicitly the case, they managed to build that in to the quest structure. I'm very happy.
And I didn't feel bad at all. The guy's like, will you kill him? I'll give you gold. I'm in. Let's go.
All right. I'm gonna give
Thank you, Galad. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for gathering the questions for us tonight, and great question there. Thank you. All right, let's grab, we have two more and then we'll wrap up here, guys, because I know everyone's tired. It's a long night, and I really appreciate Joppa and Roenick giving us some of their time. So DM Harms, we're going to bring you in next. If you want to unmute your microphone and your headset, we'll bring you right into the room. Nathan, it's so true. You are very Paladin to every way of the word. Here comes DM Harms. DM Harms, what's up, man? How are you?
Hey again, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, pretty great. I think everyone was really looking forward to this stream, and I think it's delivered. It gives us something to look forward to when we get the full picture, too.
Awesome. So questions for anybody here, Joppa, Roenick, ourselves, about the build? What are you thinking?
I'm just like really impressed, and even though we have devs in chat, I can't really think of any additional questions for them. But for you guys, a few minor things. One, and I'm sure we'll see this at some point, but did anyone try to craft with that broken sword drop from the boss?
No, we got there too late.
Yeah. We did all that stuff. Like, the stuff you saw we did after our just sort of running around the fortress. So we didn't have that material afterwards.
My soul longs to see what that turns into.
But you know what the good news is? I know Minus has mentioned he crafted, but I did some cooking. So you'll get to see some cooking in my stuff that when I do my videos.
And I want to I just want to hop in real quick on your first statement. I just want to say that, like, I'm really happy that from reading all the comments and everything, people are kind of getting the feel by watching our video for what it's going to be like to play. That makes me super happy. It's what we were hoping to do. But I just want to also say that, like, man, it is so real when you're in there. You know what I mean? It's hard to translate that. We did our best, but I'm glad that we got it across. But man, it's something else when it's real. Yeah.
I really do think you guys did a good job with that. Like, it really did feel like you guys were focused on playing and not showing. I mean, minus, I think your dialogue was really good at both like raid leading and kind of explaining stuff slightly for the viewership. But it really did feel a little hectic and a little bit just like watching a multi-person stream playing a game. It was really incredible.
It was hectic.
Good job.
Do you guys agree with that phrase? Like it was. I had Nathan, you said the joke about like we're gonna all have abs of steel because we're like clenching like as we're playing. Like most of that stream, I don't know if it came off that way, but I was super overwhelmed at times. Like positioning as a rogue in that area is very hard. And again, if I drop out of stealth, if I take any damage from a crystal, I can't do what I was doing because it'll drop me out of stealth. And flash bomb was a little bugged. So I could flash bomb, but has a big cooldown, and then I'd have to go into stealth. And in that time, I couldn't hit something by accident. I couldn't take more damage. For me, like, I don't know how it came off, but it was super intense. Like very intense play for me.
Yeah, I would agree with that for the most part. The only caveat to that though is that I think the bosses specifically were a little undertuned from where they should be. I think I think I was expecting there to be more of those like butt clenching moments in the boss fights. The regular mobs I think were tuned almost perfectly. Like when we would accidentally pull like 4 things at a time and had to, figure out how to get out of that, and we actually did like that. That's an amazing moment to me. Like when you're on the edge of your seat, like that type of thing. So I know Joppa was talking earlier about how there's still obviously tuning that needs to be done. I think the bosses aren't quite there yet, but I am impressed though if they were able to do that tuning in like a matter of hours. It was pretty close.
We would agree with you on the boss tuning for sure.
Nice. And if I could divulge one more thing before I go, because I do want you to get Yukif in there. But as far as your classes that you guys got to play here, I know it's only a short few hours, but how much do you feel that you mastered your classes, and how far did it feel like you had to go? Like, did it feel like there was a lot ahead for each of your classes? And with that, I can dip out.
Thanks, man. Take care. What do you guys think?
I think that's really good. Go ahead. Go ahead, Therek.
Yeah, I was just going to say quickly. I mean, I said it earlier. I think without all the tools and available, it's hard to judge. And I don't know how much further it goes. I don't know how much further the road goes. So when the wizard is fully fleshed out and put in the game, then you can look at it from a top-down perspective and say, okay, yes, this I didn't really know. I didn't feel like I mastered it. Or maybe I did, because it's really just the same concept, at different power levels. So that's what I would say. What about you, Baz?
Exactly the same. I feel like I have barely scratched the surface, really. And then part of that is because just the way that this kind of demo was set up, we didn't have access to the full arsenal of abilities. So I felt like there was so much more that that there was to learn about the shaman. Specifically, actually, an ability that I did have though that I really wish I had experimented more was Walk the Ages, which Joppa referenced when we were on the bridge, and I'm so mad that I like didn't think of that first, because that was an ability. Like when I was just walking around the fortress and stuff, like I was just practicing using that ability because it's so fun. So for those of you who don't know, Walk the Ages, you activate it, you mark your location, and then for the next like 30 seconds or 60 seconds, depending on what your mastery is, you can activate the ability again to blink back to the original location that you marked, which is like, I love abilities like that in MMOs. Like, it's the mobility aspect of it and the amount of different situations that you can use that in, I think just create some really interesting gameplay. And when we were in the dungeon, though, I was so focused on healing. I mean, I think that's a testament to how difficult those even those regular mobs were, was that I was so focused on just keeping people alive and healing. I wasn't really getting fancy at all. Like I didn't even really, there were some abilities that I didn't use at all. Some debuffs that I was kind of counting on Roenick to use, but yeah, I feel like I was just kind of sticking to what I know, which was keeping people alive. But I would imagine that, you know, as I play it more and more and more, there's a lot more to unpack there.
Yeah, yeah, I feel the same. You know, I can openly talk about it because I've done it in another video, but the rogue opens up a lot at level 10 right now. I don't know if it'll stay that way. You know, obviously this is early, but at level 10, you get a lot of your utility that comes in. And then the rogue plays a lot different from that way out. And because I've gotten to play the rogue in a few different sessions, I'm very comfortable with it. But at the same time, I haven't seen anywhere near all the abilities. So what's going to be interesting is when it comes to how I perfect my loadout, like what spells do I take and what do I leave out? You know, if I had traps, I may not have taken ambidextrous, which gave me melee haste. I may not have taken that. You know, there's one where you can create a quick run speed. So it's called like Sprint in the Shadows, I think. You hit it and you get like a run boost, and at the very end of it, it'll cast your flash bomb. So it's a way to get away from mobs and disappear. But it takes the flash bomb as well. So your flash bomb has to be up, and then you have to use it. I probably wouldn't use that ability, to be completely honest with you, at least in the way I was set up. So that would have came off my bar if I had more options. So it's hard to say that we've mastered anything because we're at such an early phase and we've only played with a couple other classes. So that synergy is going to matter. But I will tell you that with the tool set I have, I feel really good about it. Like really good. Like I am terrified of the nerfs that are going to come because of the way I've been CCing. So
Well, I'll just chime in real quick and say, as a player, not as a dev, what I love about the limited action, you know, bar is the fact that you do have to master, you know, different aspects of a class. So, like, you know, if Baz was healing, you know, if there was a cleric in the group, Baz could easily have switched to the debuff shaman instead, and that would have been a whole different, you know, side of the class that he would have to play. You know, for you, you were doing some crowd control tonight. But if we had an enchanter, you'd obviously be focused on DPS. So, yeah, I think as far as scratching the surface goes, you know, I think that's one of the things that we've kind of built in to kind of allow that to breathe a little bit. If that makes sense.
awesome. All right, let's get to our last member of the green room, and then we'll sort of wrap up. Okay. Kif, for bringing you in. I'm going to give you just a second to get ready in case you're watching the stream. There's a tiny bit of delay, so I don't just want to pull you in and scare you. So we're going to pull him in now. Hello, welcome to Pantheon PlusYou. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
Doing awesome. So what do you got? I mean, what kind of questions do you have for the group? You can specific, generic. What are you thinking?
So I've got two different questions, one for the devs and one for the group. Whether you guys want to answer which one you want first.
Let's go with the devs. Go see if they can help.
Okay. So this problem doesn't affect me personally, but I know a lot of people that really are afraid of spiders and will not play any games with spiders in them whatsoever. Would you consider adding an arachnophobia option? Generally just like removing legs from a model or changing it to something less scary.
I have never been asked a question like that. I've never had even a thought towards that. And I try to respect all kind of incoming new thoughts and ideas. And so I will need to think about that a little bit. Obviously, we want to make Pantheon as accessible as we can. We don't want to have any kind of artificial barriers or anything that would keep someone from even being able to play the game. That said, it does have, potentially some far-reaching ramifications, and there's always the concern of, where do you draw the line in terms of, what other things might end up being construed that way, and do we try to address all of them? It's a good question. It's something that we need to think about a little bit. I appreciate you bringing it up.
Awesome.
Thank you.
If spiders go, I want bears out. Just a heads up.
See, there's the slippery slope.
Yeah, slippery slope.
There it is.
Don't blame me. Don't blame me. Kif, what do you got for us?
How are your feelings on the named and the bosses of the areas? Do you feel they were too easy, too hard, just right? And do you think you would have had significantly more trouble without voice communications?
I'll answer the second one first, and Baz already kind of mentioned this, and I agree with him. I think the spider boss was too easy. Probably good for you because it didn't take very long to kill him. So, but I want to mention Hyoket. I thought Hyoket was more what I was expecting in terms of the difficulty of her, but I thought her ads were too squishy. Yeah, they were just too easy to sort of just fireball away and go back to Hyoket. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, we had this plan for me to save my flash bomb and opportunity. So build my opportunity up. And when those ads came out, I was going to run away from the fight, flash bomb, and then CC them so we could handle them one at a time. And then when we, like Therek, I think you hit one with a fireball like right away and it was almost dead. I'm like, oh, just kill them. Like it was an on the fly adjustment to just take them out. So
yeah,
I didn't think Hyoket was too bad as a level 17 boss fight, right? There were mechanics. If the healers weren't on their game, there were times Nathan got chunked pretty hard. I thought that the count died before I even realized what was. I don't even know if he did anything different. I think the count, which is probably you would consider him like a what do they call a boss? That's not a boss. Mini
like
boss.
A mini boss.
Yeah, as a mini boss, he felt weaker than the regular mob. So I would say I would like him to be stronger. And be more meaningful. When you have a name like that, you should be meaningful. So,
I want to hop in real quick because I'm seeing some comments tonight. Because a lot of people, this was already a fear, right? About the Dire Lord and the lesser armor. And yeah, I did take some pretty chunky hits during physical attacks. But guys, also go back and watch during like the boss fight with all that magic, man. The Dire Lord, and I wasn't even utilizing the bubble. I'm sorry, I don't remember the name because I don't study Dire Lord. But the bubble magic shield, I only used that like once or twice because I was forgetting about it. Because I was just so freaked out about trying to watch for mechanics and things. And I just want to say that I don't want anybody to walk away from this thinking the Dire Lord wasn't tanky. The Dire Lord was way tankier than I would have ever guessed throughout that entire thing. I mean, we never. He has trouble with the snap aggro, right? And he takes more damage with the physical, but that's the trade-off for the massive amount of magic he could take. I mean, he could just eat that magic almost. That was crazy. So I just wanted to, I had to touch on that because I'm seeing comments peek through, and I played it and was like paying a lot of attention to that because I knew that was a concern with the Dire Lord, and I walked away feeling very tanky.
Awesome. All right, so that's it for our questions. Thank you to everyone from the green room who came in. We had a ton of questions in the eval build channel that we made for tonight, and a lot of them, some of them were repeated, some of them we just answered as we were talking. So hopefully we got a lot of those questions answered. I want to give a huge thank you, as always, not just for tonight at Pantheon PlusYou, but to Joppa, to Roenick, to the entire team at VR. There are a lot of people behind the scenes that work their asses off for this game. We're familiar with the Joppas and Roenicks and Bens of the world, but there are so many working hands that make these things possible. I feel bad that I can't name everybody, but there's a lot of hard work that goes in, and it's a very big team effort from VR to make this happen, even to get these servers ready. So Joppa, Roenick, thank you guys so much for everything you're doing to let us in here, and to everybody behind the scenes who made this happen. It's awesome. Thank you guys.
Very, very welcome.
You betcha.
All right. So before we go, one of the things people are probably wondering is, when is this content coming out? I don't know that we all have answers for that, but let's go around the horn here and get a general idea. Bazgrim, are you still set? Do you have a decent, do you think you're getting yours out? Do you know what's going on with that yet?
Yeah, I'm more confident now. I was talking to my stream about this a little bit earlier, about how a lot of people probably don't realize how unwieldy these giant video files can be. Mine was like over 40 gigs raw, and it's my good old computer, been working all day, workhorse. But yeah, actually, earlier today, I got to a point now where I'm confident that I'll be able to release it publicly on YouTube tomorrow. Probably I'm shooting for early afternoon Eastern time. Again, no promises, but I told my stream also too, I'm actually taking tomorrow off from work to make sure that I can get it out tomorrow. So that's how much I want to get this out.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, mine is going to be a little while longer than that because I'm struggling with a lot of those same issues. Hopefully on the weekend sometime, but it might not be till Monday, just because I've been busy with work and busy with other things, and like Baz said, dealing with the technical limitations of a crazy video editing job is a big undertaking, but on the way.
Nathan?
Yeah, so I mean, it was a gargantuan. I don't remember my raw, but it was somewhere around 40 gigs, and even the edited released is like 19 gigs. So it was wild. So mine is actually already done, and it's already uploaded. I wanted to release mine after Bazgrim. I wanted to, like, the mainstream today, Bazgrim, and then I was going to release mine Saturday. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm not trying to advertise when I say this. I just have to say it to be truthful and honest. As per my agreement with my members, it's already available because it's already uploaded. I'm not telling you to go be a member. I'm just saying,
You're allowed. You're allowed here. Don't worry. We're allowed to advertise.
We got people in chat that know I'd be lying if I didn't mention that.
Yeah. Awesome. So Saturday for everybody, and members can check it out now. That's awesome. As you're hoping tomorrow, I think around 3:00 is your favorite time to put it out if you can, right?
That's when I normally release videos. I typically go for either Monday or Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern. And like I said, I'm confident that I'll be able to hit that.
Cool. And mine's done, and kind of where Nathan said, I want to give these videos time for digestion. They're 3-hour long plus videos. It's not something that's easy to just take in like a 10-minute video, which in itself is sometimes hard, or even an hour-long rewind, which is hard, or even an hour and a half Pantheon PlusYou. These are much longer videos. And the last thing I want to do is just throw everything out together and then have people picking and choosing. Like, I'd rather kind of put it out there. So there's a good chance ours will probably come out Sunday night. Mine, I'm sorry, will come out Sunday night. We will be doing a rewind that talks quite a bit about this, and we have a very big announcement to make, an exclusive announcement that'll happen at the end of the rewind. And before we go, we are allowed to talk about this, but we can't show you guys. So guys, you want to just leave with the excitement that we...
Hang on, before we end with that, because that's we got to end with that. I want to also throw out there a plug for this show, for Pantheon Plus, because as many of you know, we do the Classes 101, and after playing Pantheon in a way that we can talk about it, you can guarantee that our Classes 101 show is going to be like 5,000% better, because now we can really start saying big differences and things about Pantheon. Okay, but anyway.
Yeah, and VR has been really awesome with us. They kind of said, like, what we've experienced and what we're going to release, talk about it. It's really amazing that they're trusting us with that, to be able to openly discuss this. So thank you again for that, VR. That's awesome. So yeah, as we're playing, we'll be able to talk about how it felt in Pantheon, which is kind of neat. So 2 things happened. In my video, you're going to see an edit that you'll laugh at, I hope. But Baz, I want you to break this news, if you don't mind. Do you mind being the one? Baz, where did we start? And What did we get to see some of?
Yeah, so I'm glad you mentioned this because at one point in my video I referenced it briefly. It might be kind of confusing to people, but now you understand the first 20 minutes roughly, I think, of our gameplay session took place in Fairthale. And we were able to wander around that quite a bit and take in the sights. Now, like
It
you
was
said,
crazy.
it was insane. We unfortunately won't be able to show that. We can talk about it, but I really tried to get to let us show that, but apparently
It'll come.
I guess they have bigger and better plans for how they want to show that. But one of the things though from that first 20 minutes though that I particularly really wanted to show was the fact that you were just wandering around the zone, talking in out of character, like zone wide chat. And you'd be like, hey, like 20 shaman, LFG. And then like shit. And Therek's like, hey, you need a wizard. So I send him a group invite and he accepts. And we like have to figure out how to find each other in the zone. And we do. And we meet up and like use emotes and stuff. And it's like, it felt so much like an MMO. Like that's an open world MMO right there. And again, Fairthale is immensely huge and beautiful. Did not see a single gray box in the whole zone. It was just very beautifully done.
Nathan, anything on that?
Yeah, I got to say something on it too. So I was running around just honestly, I was being very selfish in Fairthale. I was thinking like, let me get some really cool like clips. I'll use these for the next freaking year till we get to a point where the NBA comes down, right? So I was being super selfish, like getting these really cool, like low to the ground, looking up into how beautiful everything was. And I probably ran around for a good 15, 20 minutes. No, not that long, probably 10 minutes. Just getting shots, like, you know.
We keep losing Nathan. You guys hear him? There he is.
How do you mute yourself?
Yeah, Nathan, you're muted.
Now you're back. You're back. I think you have a limit on how excited you're allowed to be in your mic at one time.
Yeah. I guess I get too excited and it cuts me out. Anyway, I tried to get as many shots as I could, and then
and silenced you. Somebody said.
Forget it.
Ben silenced you. Somebody said it.
Ben Dean's like somehow muting me.
That's a superpower right there.
All right, I'm gonna say it real quick. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I saw some areas that Joppa had showed us before, and I saw them with my own eyes. I just wanted. That's how mystical that is. Like this is a special sacred place that Joppa showed us back in the earlier days of Fairthale being shown. So I thought that was super cool.
Yeah, Therek, you had a fun experience.
Yeah. So I might have attacked a Spriggan on accident. And the Spriggan didn't fight back. And then I ran around a little more and I saw a cool creature that I wanted to go check out. So I ran up to the cool creature, not knowing I was still auto-attacked that creature, and it did attack back, and I died in Fairthale. So my heart is still in Fairthale. So I actually think I should be allowed to go back in and get my corpse at some point. So
that's actually quite the claim to fame, to be able to say that you died in Fairthale. Like nobody else can say that.
Well, Roenick's in chat here. Let's not get too
I
crazy.
can definitely say I've died in Fairthale many times.
Yeah. Well, I'll take my gravestone beside your gravestone. We'll have matching headstones or something.
There you go.
It was quite fun. But yeah, I mean, it was amazing. I mean, I don't know what else to say, but
so I did the same thing. I ran around. I actually ran across Therek and he was half health. I'm like, what happened to Therek? Did he fall? And he's standing next to Bazgrim. So I'm like, he must have fell. So I didn't know that. So I ran around everywhere. I went through a waterfall and I saw a huge stone fixture, and there was this crazy mountain and there's huge areas, climbing trees.
That waterfall was incredible, wasn't it? It was so huge.
It's crazy. So I mean, I was climbing trees and like getting these aerial views. It was massively big. And again, there was no gray box that I saw. I'm not saying there isn't any, but I didn't see any. But here's the funny part. So I'm sitting in the fort and I look in our inventory and there's these items in there to let, testers jump to different areas. That's all it was. Just like 2 little items, one to take you back to Fairthale, one to take you to the fort. And there's a loot and it says wonder what happens if I play this. I'm a rogue. I have a loot in my hand. It says I want. So I'm like, I don't know. And I'm sitting on stream, and you guys will see this part. Like, let's click it. And I click it, and it goes to a loading screen. I'm like, oh, I think I'm going to Fairthale. I don't know if I'm supposed to. And then I had to cut it. So it just says on the screen, Minus was not supposed to do that. And then I swear to God, I didn't plan this. I just cut back to when I came in, and the first things I said was, and I'm back. Rogues being rogues. And then I just kept playing. But like, I didn't plan that. I didn't know I was going to have to cut any of that. It was so good. So yeah.
So does it count? Does it count that Therek was the first death? You know, because Joppa said first non-death or non-dev death in Oldwood. Does it? Can we count that as a ranger was the first real death? Then I mean, he was.
Yeah,
I think so.
Because technically, Roenick might play a ranger, right? So.
Yeah, but non-dev ranger.
No, non-dev. I'm talking about Therek.
Yeah. I think
so just
I
real
want
quick
that distinction.
Just real quick here, Roenick says, even though we told Minus to not play, no, not true. I did not knowingly break rules. Did not knowingly. But guys, thank you so much. Joppa, I have one final request for you. If you could, for us to close this stream, your announcement of the very dry Roenick is dead is probably one of the best things in the world. Can you end our stream with just your normal reaction to Roenick's dead for us?
Roenick's dead.
There it is. All right, guys. VR, thank you so much, Joppa, Roenick, and of course, everybody back at VR working their butts off. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Baz. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Therek. I'm looking forward to all these streams. I hope you guys get the opportunity to check them out. Leave your comments, upvote them. Show that if we get the chance to stream, that we can reach more people. The more you watch them, the more you comment, the more you upvote, more people outside of our community will see them. So yeah, we want to do this more, but we want it to help VR. So help us as a community if you don't mind. Yes, I'm pandering a little bit, but you know what? I'm pandering on all our behalfs. Upvote those videos, leave comments, share them out to your friends. Let's get this going. So thank you, everybody. Amazing show, amazing stream. Thank you, Baz. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you, Therek. And with that, we're out.
Good night.